I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking about a terrific book. It is called From Exhausted to Energized, a self-care guide for women affected by a loved one's addiction. It is written by Sonier, and it draws upon her personal experiences growing up amidst addiction to offer a transformative guide on overcoming stress and prioritizing self-care. We are delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Bridge Literary Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing this wonderful book, From Exhausted to Energized. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us here on Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's tell the folks at home the backstory on this book. You had some real life experiences that you write about that shaped your life and that were affecting you, but you overcame some of the struggles and challenges. Let's talk about what brought you to write this book.
Well, I've always been interested in health and wellness. And back in 2009, I joined a wellness challenge through my employer.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was able to, learn a little bit more about nutrition and fitness. But actually, it was in 2014 when my world came crashing down, when my son, who on his 27th birthday, came to me and told me that he was addicted to opioids and wanted help. So I hugged him, and I told him, this is the best birthday present you can ever give yourself. Mm-hmm. Secretly, that we were in for a rough road because my parents had gone through a similar situation with my brother, who became an alcoholic when he was in his teens. Mm. So, my son was in and out of rehab for 5 times, in and out of hospital 4 times. And the last time he was in the hospital, we thought he was going to die. He had severe pancreatitis and was in ICU for 3 weeks. But he always, wanted help, and he didn't give up. And thankfully, he was well enough to go home. But as soon as he got home, he started drinking again. And so he had, I guess I maybe should back up a little bit because I was talking about opioids, and now he's an alcoholic.
Right. And, well, they all kind of go hand in hand.
Yes.
That people want to numb themselves out from whatever they're feeling, whether it's booze, whether it's, a drug of choice. You're just blessed in this day and age of fentanyl and fentanyl overdoses that he came to you and asked for help before it got to that point, because I personally know people who have died from fentanyl. I mean, it's bizarre. I'll ask somebody, how's your boy doing? And it's like, not too good. He died. This is a horrible time in our history right now with the amount of addictions that are going on.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. And like I said, family, though, we're very blessed that my son did come to us and wanted help. And it may have taken him, 5 times. And when we thought he was in the hospital, that would be, his wake-up call, that he would stop drinking. But unfortunately, when he came home, within a couple of days, he was drinking again. That he was going to die if we didn't intervene. And so my husband and I, went and talked to him, brought him home, and he agreed to come home so we could help him. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a car. We took him to his outpatient therapy. He wanted to go to AA meetings. And so it was 6 weeks of that. But then, as time went on, he became more healthy mentally and physically. And so he was able, after 6 months, to go back home and live on his own.
Thank God.
I'm very, very grateful. He's been sober now for 7 years.
Well, that's great. I mean, because it is tough to beat addictions. I think it's particularly tough for young people because they kind of feel indestructible to begin with. So they don't see that the booze or the drugs are going to kill them. But of course, they will if they continue. So is this what led you to write the book, Exhausted to Energized?
It is.
Yeah.
when I became a wellness coach, that was part of what I wanted to do eventually, was to write a book.
Hmm.
And it was, yeah, it's my experience, my wellness journey with my son, addiction, me to writing the book. And I knew right away I wanted to be a self-care guide for women like me, who is affected by a loved one's addiction. And I knew I wanted to make it very simple for my readers to understand, because when you are stressed to the max, you don't want to go to a 300-page book
Yeah.
to try to get some relief.
Right.
And I knew right away it wanted to be just like 100 pages, and my book actually is less than 100 pages.
Mhm.
And I wanted it to be simple steps that they could take so that they could, take action immediately to help them relieve some of the stress they were going under.
Yeah. What is some of the advice you give women to go from exhausted to energized? I mean, it's tough when you're going through it, right?
It sure is. There's times in your life you feel like your life is totally out of control.
Yeah.
So again, one of the reasons for the self-care guide is because you get so involved with your loved one and what they're doing that you totally forget about you and
Right.
your being and, self-care. And so some of the things you can do that's pretty simple is to make sure you're getting proper nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Are you eating balanced meals? Are you getting enough rest? Are you getting exercise? I mean, just a walk outside for 10 minutes will do you a world of good.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sort of like what they say on airplanes, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help those around you. It's that same type of thing. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to, like you said, eat right, get your rest, get some exercise, because this is not a short-term problem if you're dealing with an addiction.
That's for certain.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What are you hoping that folks get out of it when they read your book?
Well, I know, we can't eliminate stress from our lives, but we can take easy steps to manage it.
Right.
And, I want women to learn how to embrace self-care and not feel guilty, because, for me, self-care is essential. It's not being selfish. And, once they learn to take better care of themselves, then they can stop the endless cycle of going to bed exhausted and waking up depleted, and be able to find some more joy and peace and serenity in their life.
Yeah.
And then I want them to know that, they're not alone. There's so many people affected.
Yeah. Well, affirmations are a big part of your book as well. That's an important aspect, right?
Yes, I truly believe in affirmations.
And for the folks at
I've
home who
started,
may not know what they are, basically, what is that? Basically, self-talk, where you're telling yourself, you got this, I can do it, that kind of thing?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a way to bring about or change an attitude, or, you can even change, your environment.
Hmm.
And I do have some written in there that can help. And then they can get an idea, and then they can start writing their own affirmations.
Wonderful. Tell me about your work as a wellness coach. When did you begin that? And who are your clients, and how you help them with their lives?
So I took an online course with IAWP, which is International Associations of Wellness Professionals.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back in 2017. And then they asked me they offered me the opportunity to become a master coach. It was a program that they had just started. And so I did that for another year training. So I became certified as a holistic wellness master coach in 2018. And then I started out doing workshops. I really enjoy doing workshops for the community where, people can come and learn about different subjects. I've done it on stress, eating. My clients so far have been all women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's whatever their wellness challenge is. We work together to come up with a plan for them to move past, where they're stuck, and so they can move forward.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. You know, in the 70s, Richard Nixon declared war on drugs. And I think it did some good, actually. I think it brought down a lot of the heroin addictions. Heroin had disappeared for decades, it seemed, and now it's back. Do you think this country needs to declare war on drugs again?
I think we need to maybe educate more. I think we need to spend more money on mental health.
Mhm.
I think we need to start a little bit earlier, in the school system. I think that, I don't know, sometimes I go back to, I strongly believe in what we focus on is what we get.
Yeah.
So I think we need to focus more on the people and not so much on the drugs.
Yeah. True. True. But yeah, or it could be a two-pronged approach. Make sure that people are getting the support and the care that they need, and eradicate the abundance of drugs in this country because it's out of control. And I don't think legalizing marijuana has helped things. I think it's given a green light to some people to say that, you
Right.
know what, some drugs are okay. So once you say some drugs are okay, what's to keep the kids saying, well, why can't I take this OxyContin then? Or why can't I take this or that? So it's definitely it's a epidemic right now, for sure. And your
It
book
is.
is an important book, and we're delighted that you wrote it because I think it's going to help a lot of people. The name of the book is From Exhausted to Energized, a self-care guide for women affected by a loved one's addiction. And beyond women, I think this book would be helpful to men as well, because they're sometimes going through it too, as a dad or as a husband with an addicted wife. Self-care is important, and Sandy Sonier does a great job of laying out what you need to do to take care of yourself so you can take care of those you love. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time. Until next time on Spotlight.